Good morning, Mr. Kadaki.
Never joke, never joke, never joke. Oh, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money, I know what you can even money. Money, never money, never money, money, never money, money, you can keep your conniving money. When you've been a corrupt in a bills there be money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, in a bills there be money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money. Yes, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money, now know what you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. This is all the money that me walk for. I said money, neighbor. Money, neighbor, money. Money, neighbor, money. Money, now I know what you can have in money. Oh, Joseph.
ASK Promotion presents Countryside Laughs Saturday 23rd April at KAMS Place Sideline ng Buxton. Showtime 6 p.m. Tickets $1,000. Non-stop laughter. Countryside Laugh.
You know, this is the thing I can't take with you. You guys are like, if I win this lottery money, I don't cast you aside and go on a shopping spree with women or something.
Well, you said it, not me. Nowhere in my argument did I mention anything about women. But that's a show way of that thinking.
You know, yeah, a woman has said, good. And since you hear about big money, you ask get different.
Well, we will be fools if we don't get different. And my mama didn't raise a fool.
The Lottery, written by and directed by Sharon Cadogan Taylor and Ronald Hollinsworth. Don't miss The Lottery.
concerned about lots of guns on the street. And some are aggravated. They got too many guns. Morning, neighbor. Morning. Welcome to another program of BUXTONIAN Morning Time, y'all. It's Thursday. All day today, it's Thursday, the 10th day of March in the year 2022. Yes, the morning after Adam Harris said, don't go on the streets. You're going to get harmed. They got too many guns. And they got too many people would get hurt. You know what frets me? What frustrates me? What aggravates me? People were protesting all along with lots of guns on the streets. Guns in the hands of the oppressors. People were doing that all the time. The ancestors were protesting, they were rebelling. They were being slung from poles, put on the breaking wheel as they call it. But you know what? They never stopped protesting. And some aggravated when one who I have great respect for, one who has lived through the years and most likely has seen the evolution of society, sits here in the year 2022 and say, I do not believe people should go on the streets because there are too many guns. That's number one. Number two, I do not believe people should go on the streets because lots of people will be hurt. And then that hurt is clarified to include the interest of big businesses which support the oppressors. I usually say, especially when I make certain arguments or have certain discourses on this program, and people come to me and tell me, but Mr. Amsterdam, you need to be fair, you need to address the PPP side. I am not responsible for the PPP. Since when is the oppressed responsible for the oppressor? And so come on, brother, I'm disappointed in you. Yes, we have a concern. There are lots of guns on the streets. I'm concerned about lots of guns on the street. But they usually say when you're digging a hole for people, dig two. And so let us consider that. There are lots of guns on the street. And both sides got access to lots of guns. I'm not saying we should have a gunfight in the street. But if those who want to oppress you is going to use guns, or the mere thought of the presence of guns to oppress you, then you got to start thinking also forewarned is forearmed. We have billions, hundreds of millions of US dollars ammunition coming to this country. Does it suggest they ain't got guns? No, it doesn't. We hear of the Red Army ever so often. And a lot of security services masquerading, a lot of vigilante groups and PPP paramilitary groups masquerading as security services. So we know they're guns. But there's something called the element of surprise. And there's something called strategizing. You guys strategize against the guns. But the fear of guns shouldn't stop people from being on the street. Because if the fear of guns is what will prevent you from being on the street, trust me, you're going to be oppressed forever. We are going to be oppressed forever. Because not by the stretch of any imagination do I think that the civilians will be able to match the firepower of the coercive arm of the state. Not by any stretch of the imagination. But the coercive arm of the state is expected to be bound by good practices. I say no more. It is 8 minutes past 7 o'clock. I have a law enforcement man in the house, or many of you might say former law enforcement. Sir, you need to adjust the screens. I'm not seeing you at all. Like in your Barbie's chair, right? Good, that's much better there. Good. I know you got, as them boys said, if testicular fortitude, and definitely the spine to stay in that position. Good morning, Mr. Conway. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm good, you know. God has been good to me, Kilaki.
You see, forgive me for saying, Mr. Conway, one of my failings is I generally don't remember all these fancy titles. Were you assistant commissioner?
Yes, I was, and I wasn't masquerading.
But you see, that is why I don't pay attention to a lot of titles these days, because you have so many actors and actresses and masqueraders, right?
Yeah.
So we have with us this morning former Assistant Commissioner of Police Clinton Conway, a man who has give human service to this country in terms of what I should say civilian security. Service and protection. He has been responsible for training a lot of those who are currently in the police force, masquerading as all kind of things, and looking forward to becoming commissioner and so on. And so it's usually good in my mind to get folks like Mr. Conway to address issues relating to the police force and so on, because as we say, they came from the belly of the beast and they understand the beasts that we're dealing with, right? And so this morning we're going to be talking a lot of things. I want to start, Mr. Conway. Well, let me give you a chance. Do you want to make an opening statement? Do you wish to?
Just to say and to correct you, I didn't come from the belly of the beast. I came from the brains of the police force, and talking about 10 years and beyond. But I'm happy that you asked me to share some views on law enforcement, which I've been doing for some time in the media, and I will continue to do because I have an abiding interest in law enforcement. I want the police to give the highest quality of service to the people of Guyana. I know today is their annual officers' conference, and I hope that they have a successful conference.
What an auspicious day to have you on this program. We're having our own officers' conference here. I know many will be peeved. They're going to say, man, on such a special day like this is when this man come to talk the things about us. But
well, I'm here and I'll be frank. And you sound as though you had a lot of strokers, so I might be in some trouble.
Not at all. I just like the fact that, listen, I am beaming from the fact that in my mind the judiciary has prevailed. It has shown itself that it has the capacity to be, like Lady Justice, blind, and deliver justice as it ought to be looked at. I looked at that ruling yesterday, and I am quite happy. What about you?
I said on several occasions, Kilaki, that I believe in the judicial system in Guyana. And I know all along the line that we had a good case, but not surprisingly, last night I received a notification that the Attorney General has appealed the ruling and has put up a 7-point issues, which our legal persons will deal with.
Like you said, not surprised. Not surprised. You see, these folks, these Jacobats, as the boys like to call them, wouldn't want certain matters, certain cases to see the light of day. As much as they can delay them and get them buried, they will do. We've seen the examples with the 19 charges, law book charges, misdemeanor in public office and all of that. They fought them, they delayed them until such time that they could have quashed them. And so I am not surprised that the AG has appealed. Is he going to the CCJ?
Well, the first instance is the High Court, and then it's going to go all the way to CCJ, I believe. And then again, too, the Attorney General didn't attend the session yesterday. I think he had suspected it would go against him, and he was busy in his office preparing the appeal.
Very well. One of the things which I noted in the judgment, because I was fortunate to get a copy of it, is that the learned justice was simply saying, listen, judicial review cases, according to precedents, has nothing to do with, well, not necessarily has nothing to do with, but does not affect the parties. It really affects the law and the rule of law. And so it doesn't matter really who the contestants are. I'm using these words loosely. And so what really was before the justice was whether or not the actions of the state were in keeping with good governance and judicial practices. And several cases were cited, including case from the CCJ, which said that, look, this is the important issue here. Do we leave this thing unattended to because the life of the commission has come to an end? As a matter of fact, the justice said it is the belief that the commission was named incorrectly, right, as a contestant in this case. And so let's see what will come out of that so-called appeal by Nadlad as he runs around the place. But let me remind viewers that this is not a substantive case. This was just to determine whether or not the substantive case should be heard, because Anil did make an application to the court to throw it out, given the fact that the life of the commission had ended. Mr. Conway.
That is true, and the judge did talk a lot about public interest, and he talked that the service commission and the commissions, people mustn't really mess around with those commissions, you know. And he did quote a lot from what the Chief Justice had ruled in the case, in a recent case, you know. So I think we were vindicated.
Indeed. Now let's talk. One of the reasons why we end up with this case was because the former Police Service Commission was, I would say, a stickler for rules. And when officers misbehaved and so on, they refused to promote them. Several investigations were ordered against some senior officers who ran to the courts and so on. And so, as a member of the former commission, what will you say now about the current operation of the Guyana Police Force?
Kanaki, there are too much of political interference in the Guyana Police Force. Let me give a little background, and I'm going to give you some clear cases of political interference. The Guyana Constitution, I think Article 211(1), states that the president has the sole authority to appoint a commission and deputy commissioners. Maybe the thinking then was that the president or the government should have a commission and deputy commissioners that they are comfortable with. And let me state that there has been political interference in the police force. There is, and there will continue to be political interference. But there must be a separation of power. There must be a wall there which must be absolute, which must be sacrosanct. That you can't have a president, persons from the office of the president, Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Legal Affairs, Attorney General and others giving political directives to the Guyana Police Force. The government is responsible for policy and the police for operations. The commissioner is responsible to superintend the Guyana Police Force. And you could tell me, yes, as the government could say that I want to reduce crime by 10%, but you can't tell me who must be my crime chief. I can't tell me who must be in charge of the serious crime unit. You can't tell me that, look, hey, the PRO isn't doing good, and then you want us to do better, and then you're going to install a Mark Ramatar or a Stan Governance. Those are political interference. And I can give you quite a lot of instances of political interference or the allegations, if I want to be careful in my language. Here is what happened. After the change of government, there are some changes, and these are political allegations, are political changes in personnel. First, they had Hicken, who the government had sent away to look at Venezuelans in region 1, 2, 7, 8, and 9. They moved him from there and brought him as operations. And I must state also that political interference has come from both sides of the political divide. So we had Hicken, who was looking at Venezuelans, brought us ups. Rupert, who was on the East Coast, brought as admin. We had Karimbash, who the previous government had banished to the one of the units there. He was installed as head at Suku. We had Blanham, remember the Commission of Inquiry that Paul chair. Blanham was sent to Region 1 to get experience. He was brought back as head of the CID. And I want to mention two other names. One, Prem Narayan, and remember his name, who, according to the information received, was absent from duty during the election time and found himself at the Ashman building performing duties not related to police. He was sent back to CID headquarters. Also, your good friend Caesar. We had, remember his name? Just now I will remember his name. We had Budram, who was doing patrol work in the A Division, sent as head of the special branch, the crime chief. We had also Watts, who was 2IC operations, sent to West Demerara as a commander, and you know who living at West Demerara? We had Thomas, who was on pre-retirement leave, appointed head of the Presidential Guard. And they had many more political appointments. And on the other side now, here's what we had. We had Paul Williams. He was sent to the CDC. And then the Prime Minister realized, hey, he's senior to Lieutenant Colonel Chester Craig, and he sent him to COVID-19. We had Andrews Jr., who was the PRO, sent to COVID-19. We have Stanton, a division superintendent, sent to COVID-19. Cooper, who was in charge of Region 5 and refused to use lethal force against protesters. He was sent to what we call project units, monitoring no projects that he had there. We had Azor, who was a division commander after Thomas. He was sent to the CDC, as the case may be. Ike Grandison, a cadet officer who was at the PRO, sent to Region 7. And then the Kingston, Senior Superintendent Kingston, who was the crime chief sent as commander, Region 7, and we had Superintendent Ray, who was in charge of immigration. Remember that government had asked him to give them names of persons who were allegedly outside of Guyana, traveled outside of Guyana, and were recorded as persons who voted. He submitted a list, and he was sent. And he was sent as 2 IC operations where Hicken is literally walking over his head. So they had quite a number of those, what I call political decisions. Those are plain political movements. And there are many others. Yeah. Yes. It is shattering. There's a saying, Kidaki, that when the infrastructure shifts, everything rumbles. And there is rumbling from the apex to ground zero. It's happening all the time. The morale is low. I could tell you, there isn't a day that policemen and policewomen wouldn't call me, making complaints, asking suggestions, as the case may be. And let me go back to some political interference. Remember what Paul so said with himself and the president? Remember, Home Affairs sent a long list, give Happy a Christmas Day, a Christmas Eve Day present, charge, and they mentioned about 6 men proceed with criminal charges against them. He didn't say to proceed with investigation, but criminal charges over a year ago. No statement, no report, no crime file, anything. And up to today, not one of them were charged. So there are too many political interference in the Guyana police force.
Indeed, so I heard the president say, the fat guy say recently, that in appointing the laws will be followed in appointing the next commissioner of police. And that is an important statement because in a matter of days or so, I understand the current acting commissioner of police, Hoppy, is due to proceed on pre-retirement leave if he has not already proceeded. Who do you anticipate will replace Hoppy? And what laws the president is talking about when he said they will be followed?
Okay, that's a good question, putting me in a spot. But let me say, I'll be talking the laws and maybe referring to Article 211(1), which states that every appointment of commissioner and deputy commissioners, the president must consult with the leader of the opposition and the chairman of the Police Service Commission, who would have then consulted with other members of the commission. So the appointment of commissioner is truly political. The president doesn't have to have agreement, whoever he or she may be. Just discussions with the leader of the opposition and the chairman of the Police Service Commission, who would have consulted with other members. That's the law, and the law is very, very clear. Any layman supposed to understand that. But to appoint a commissioner right now would be, the president would be in some trouble unless he wants to break the law, because there's no leader of the opposition, there's no Police Service Commission, and also not only the Police Service Commission, you have to have a Public Service Commission, because the Service Commission is made up of 4 members plus the chairman of the Public Service Commission. So there's no chairman of the Police Service Commission, there's no leader of the opposition. So that appointment, if it's made right now, would be a breach of the Constitution. And let me talk about who is the next commissioner. I don't want to mention names, but I had an article some time ago where I said that, hey, Paul Williams should be the next police commissioner. And I gave many reasons. I said he's the most senior person, and also that he is most qualified than all of us, than all of them. But the president would have some issues and concerns that he has to deal with, including leadership, including corruption, including diplomacy. Remember when Henry Green and McDonald, they were appointed commissioner, their visas were revoked, and we don't want to have a commissioner who visa is revoked. There are also issues involving drug trafficking, and I'm talking about cocaine. I'm not talking about marijuana because it looks as though hemp would take over marijuana. And also, he has to look at the political issues. And there are many other issues that he has to look at before he can make a commissioner. So Happy might just go out in the wind. He might very well retire as a deputy commissioner. Right now, I can't see him being appointed commissioner.
You highlighted some situations, some things that the president ought to consider in making his appointments. Are you insinuating that we have senior policemen who can possibly be commissioners who are involved in drug trafficking and can have their visas revoked? Should they be appointed?
And not only drug trafficking, in terms of human rights violation also. Yes, there might be some of them around there.
So we really are putting cat to watch milk. You said Paul Williams, in your mind, is the most qualified, most suitable. But lots of people see Clifton Hickens as a front runner. Why would you say Clifton Hickens should come second or third or fourth to Paul Williams?
Well, I already said that Paul Williams is more qualified in terms of academically and professionally. I don't want to go into other individuals because it might be shattering. It might not be good for them. It might be devastating. I know them well. But all of them, I know them well. And I don't want to publicly come forward and, itemize them and itemize the issues and concerns. I'm just speaking broadly.
I understand. I generally don't like the press. Excuse me. I generally don't try like the press. But don't you believe citizens have a right to know why a man who is considered a front runner should not be considered at all?
Well, he can also have said that when the government changes, he'll be the next commissioner. I don't know his reason for saying so. But as I was saying before, I don't want to go into details of all of them. I know they're all aspirants and they're all looking forward, but it's a presidential decision, jump high, jump low, COVID-19 or no COVID-19. It is a presidential decision. But all I'm saying is that he has to abide by the Constitution, and he has to examine quite a number of issues that I outlined.
All right. So basically, I'm here to put the fat guy can simply have a casual gaffe with the leader of the opposition and the Police Service Commission chairman, and then move ahead and do his appointment. I've had discussions with these folks, and this is what I've decided.
Well, the law said meaningful consultation. What is meaningful consultation is debatable. But that's the law said, meaningful consultation and appoint. He does have to get agreement, as is the case with the Chief Justice and the Chancellor. No agreement. Meaningful consultation. That is written. That is in black and white.
Good. Give this the possibility of the president selecting someone who might very well not be, in your books, the best, most suitable person for that position. Where do you see the police force in the near future, near to long term? Okay.
You mentioned earlier about the belly of the beast. I said that me, Paul Slow and others, we come from the brains of the police force. I mean, we're not talking about this current brains, We're talking about brains 10 years and beyond. And there are some extremely good men in the Guyana police force. Jump high, jump low. And if given the opportunity, they can do well. The police force is not going to turn around overnight. They need to look at career planning, career development, and succession planning. There's a group of men and women who, when Henry Green was commissioner, the president then, I think, was Jaglio, asked us to make 50 cadets. We got 46. We sent them to the Army. They did a 1-year course. I think they call it SMOC, Standard Officers Military Course. They came back. They didn't teach them policing. I had them for months in the classroom. And they are the future leaders of this kind of police force. They're going to rise to the top, believe it or not. Some may be by natural progression. And those are the people and also the station sergeants that we have to concentrate on. Career development, succession planning, give them tremendous training. They must develop both academically and professionally. Send them on to universities, send them to training overseas, as the case may be. Don't worry, the current crop. In the next couple of years, they would phase out. And some of them don't operate as though they got brains, you know. It might sound a bit controversial, but there's a guy named, a doctor, he died now, Dr. Roger Sperry. In 1981, he won a Nobel Prize for medicine. He did extensive brain research. And he said the left side and the right side of the brain have their own thoughts and memory, and they process information differently. He said the left side is logical and the right side is emotional. And they interact at least 10 times every 24 hours. They have their own thoughts and their own memory. And he's saying it's not which side of the brain is important. Is that in decision making and problem solving, you must use the whole brain. He called it the whole brain theory. And we have some people here in the force and some movers and shakers of the force don't use the whole brain. They use part of the brain. Most time they are emotional and political. And that is causing a whole lot of problem in the police force. So I'm saying that unless they use their whole brain in terms of decision making and problem solving, the police force will not go anywhere. They need to have, the paradigm has got to shift. It's got to shift in terms of thinking at the top. In my days when I used to go to school, we used to call some of them numbskull. We used to call some of them dunderheads. And in our meetings, my good friend and co-accused Paul Slow used to say that they cannot mambo. They are non-mambable. He used to use the term. And right now, some of those same persons that we're talking about are at the head of management there and the executive leadership team of the Ghana Post. Therefore, this force cannot go right. We need to have new thinking and we need to have whole brain thinking according to Dr. Roger Sperry. And Dr. Roger Sperry said, emotions come from the brain and not the heart. So I'm saying concentrate on those middle management people now. They are the people, excellent people are wrong. Deal with them, train them, motivate them, mentor them. They can make the changes in the police force. But right now, I'm not seeing any positive changes unless the paradigm is shifted. And what we have to get is a commissioner who can stand up to the politicians. Perhaps a commissioner like Larry Lewis type of commissioner. He was strong. He had knowledge, he had intelligence. He had a touch like J. Edgar Hoover, the founder of the FBI. He had intelligence. He didn't have smartphone, neither did he have Pegasus. but he had boots on the ground and he had intelligence, and I'm talking about actionable intelligence. So you need to have a commissioner who is strong, who could stand up, not like Happy and the rest of aspirants. Unless that happens, you won't get anywhere. I remember Commissioner Lewis used to sometimes call senior government officials, not really blackmailing them, but say, look, Minister, I hear some story going on, but I don't really believe in it. But as Minister, as Commissioner, I need to tell you, so. I don't believe in it, Minister, you don't have to worry. But he's making the Minister aware that, hey, he is aware of what is going on. So the Minister has to be careful how he deals with the Commissioner and the Ghana Police Force.
Mr. Conway, you've said so much. You got me thinking, man. My brain overclocking. Let me ask you this. I'm understanding that for there to be positive change in the Ghana Police Force, the majority of the top ranks have to be removed. Removed whether by, as you say, natural succession. They just reach that time to retire and so on. Do you believe, would you agree because I'm hearing that those people went for the smoke training, if I heard it clearly, are the real, the folks who can really change the Ghana Police Force in the near future? Should some of these senior ranks be superseded so that the smoke team can really take over? Let me call them smoke team loosely.
Certainly, there should be super sessions. Put the right people in the place. That will be, we don't have to go through Dr. Peter principle, and promote incompetence. Promote persons with merit, persons who, and the Service Commission ran into problems. That's one of the reasons why we were suspended, because we were asked to promote people who, to use a common term, ain't ready yet, who can mambo. So, yes, it has to happen. Bold decision has to be made, has to be taken in the interest of the Ghana Police Force, in the interest of the citizens of this country.
Can these super sessions, let's assume they will happen, be challenged in court?
Yes, we had one. We had one recently. I think it was senior superintendent. He was in charge of F division. I can't remember his name, but he took them to court some time ago, and he won his case. He was superseded, and Ramnarayan took his place as assistant commissioner. Can't remember his name, but we had that. People can take you to court, but if your reasons are justified, yes, they can get through. Can
these senior officers be offered early retirement, for example?
Well, quite a lot of them pass 50, and you can retire at 50 with all your rights.
No, so we have solutions to this problem, but we have to have political will.
Yeah, that's true. And maybe on both sides of the political divide, but then, they're hardly agreeing with anything.
Very well. Yeah, like I said, there's so many things which you mentioned that got me thinking.
Yeah, you should have taken your stuff, man, but you didn't take your stuff.
Stroke us. I need some stimulant, eh? No.
Yeah.
No, with the possibility that, I believe this supersession is not going to happen, because I don't think that the persons you've mentioned, the 46 or so that went, obviously all of them are not peaches for smoke training and so on, are not necessarily going to be in the good books of the PPP.
That's true.
Where are some of these people operating right now, if you can see? And you most likely have been monitoring them. Are they necessarily all of good conduct, or most?
I would say about 90%. A couple fell by the wayside, but generally about 90%. They are excellent persons. They are persons with potential for growth and development. They need mentoring. They are scattered across the country. Some in specialized areas, which they ought not to be, because they need to, as far as I'm concerned, you need to generalize and then specialize. But they are left in the wilderness. They're wandering about the place. Nobody taking a grip of them I had them under my control and I demitted the office and then they left on their own. But we're still in contact.
All right, so would you say there's been no succession planning in terms of people of your caliber, for people of your caliber?
The police force has no succession plan and they have no career development plan. And I want them to contradict me.
Good. Let's talk about that career development and succession planning. We have a team of about 46 persons who are saying that are well trained and can really turn things around in the Guyana police force. They're not being given their day in the sun, let me call it that. But we learned recently that there were 9 persons housed some part of the Ivlery compound or somewhere, the Guyana police force infrastructure, who were handpicked for cadet training, external cadets, I understand they call them. Are you aware of that situation, and what is sickening about that in your mind? Or what is positive? Because there might be some positives.
I don't know the selection process, but in my time, we used to go through a rigid selection process. Understand there are 9 there, 8 females, 8 men and 1 female. I understand they were sent. They were sent there. And the police standing order, I think it's standing order number 73, gives the police administration the power to appoint to go through what we call external cadets, where persons will come directly from outside and they go through a period of training. I think in the first instance is a 13 weeks training program. And then they made corporals and go through another 13 weeks training. And then after then, they go through our process as cadet officers for 1 year, where they're sent to work all across the country. And at the end of it, they can be appointed assistant superintendent on probation for a year. And then after another year, depends on their performance, they will be appointed assistant superintendent. So cadet really is a person who is seeking to become an officer in the police force. And an officer in the police force is from the rank of an assistant superintendent. So they can have direct entry in the force, or you use the internal method, which I think is the best method in terms of appointing cadet officers.
And so were you or are you concerned about this, the fact, for example, that these handpicked persons were all underage when they entered into the system?
Well, you should be of age before you join the police force. 18, unless they make you an apprentice, and they hardly make an apprentice now, that you got to be 18 and over to be a member of the police force. Maybe is I think they call it what? Well, they're an orientation process, but they have no ranks in the Guyana police force.
Do you think mischief is afoot?
Could be. Looking along the line, it could very well be. And when you mention the word handpick, I don't know how they really entered there, but apart from what I was told that they were sent.
By,
perhaps politics at play.
I was about to ask sent by whom, but I'll let that pass. All right. So here again, we are having perhaps another example of political interference. And political interference, like I said, it was, it is, and will forever be, perhaps. Yeah. The Police Association. I remember there leading up to the suspension of the Police Service Commission. There was a big hullabaloo over the elections of the Police Association. So much so that I think they call them the Caribbean Association of Police Associations had to make a statement and a promise to intervene. Do you know what is the most recent development on that issue?
Okay, let me talk about the Police Association. That is the body that makes the main body that makes recommendation to Parliament or make nominations for persons to become members of the Police Service Commission. According to the law, there are also other bodies who appear to have the interests of the majority of the police ranks. And that would include like the Police Officers Association, and that is a body that deals with officers. I was a chairman of that association. For the matter, I took over from my good friend and co-accused Paul Slow, and also the Ex-Police Association. What politics came into play, remember Paul Slow and members of the commission, and as I must mention that it is not a Paul Slow commission, it's a police service commission that I serve on. And at one time we would go to the chairman, even though he had a casting vote. But after they couldn't get their way, they decided, hey, target Conway, target Paul Slow. So they got a phantom charge, get Suku to give us a phantom charge, and I'm going to talk a little bit about certain things, not the charge itself, but Suku, that charge them and then apply to the president for them to be removed from office. They're smart. So what they did, they used Brutus, Senior Superintendent Brutus. And I must say, and I always will state, that Brutus is no deputy commissioner. He's not acting as any deputy commissioner. He's masquerading. He's pamphleting. So they decided phantom charge, charge us, and then apply for us to be removed. And we were removed. So Brutus now wrote happy, and I've seen the letter, stating that they should hold elections for new members of the Police Association. Roseanne Ford at the time was chairman of that body. Brutus' submission was that they should have elections once per year. It's written in the police standing order number 35, that elections must be held once per year. But when Larry Lewis was commissioner, he changed that. I don't think he might find any documentation, but there are precedents. And Hormanstein, I think she's a deputy superintendent there now. She served for 2 terms as the chairman of the Service Commission, of the association, and she had elections after 2 years. Mohammed Khan served for 6 years as the chairman of the Police Association, and he had elections every 2 years. Now, Brutus' case was that they should have every year. So he wrote Happy seeking permission to hold elections. Happy did not approve it. Brutus, the alleged, he sent to the divisional commanders asking for persons to attend the meeting, persons from the branch board, to nominate persons from the branch board to hold elections. Now, there are certain things that must be done before an election is held. Certain things before, during, and after. Ranks must be notified by publication in the police force order. They must be voting at stations. Ballot boxes must be sent to each station so that voting can take place. No ballot box was sent. There was tremendous breaches of that police standing order. So Brutus served as returning officer, and he emerged with Prem Narayan. Remember I mentioned Prem Narayan?
Yes.
Earlier, he was brought back. He emerged with Prem Narayan as chairman, as being elected chairman of the association. And among the other executives were at least 2 persons I know, 2 ranks I know, or interested during the election period. I'm not going to call their names, but I know them well. That election was held in the morning. The afternoon, Happy order another election. He got Deputy Superintendent MTH to serve as a returning officer. And in that election, Roseanne Ford was elected chairman. The next day, Happy was called before two offices, two political offices, and placed over the hot courts. And those two political officers are, as I normally say, southwest of police headquarters. The next day, Happy wrote and vitiated both elections. He vitiated both elections. After being called and being roasted, Happy then changed his mind and wrote also that because of mature thinking and legal advice, the election that elected Prem Narayan as chairman was the correct one, was valid. That election, I'm going to use some famous words, flagrantly violated the letter, spirit, and intent of some of the most sacrosanct procedures of the police standing order number 73. So I am disappointed that persons did not challenge that election. They didn't challenge it. So what happened now is that association led by Prem Narayan made nominations to Sherlock Isaacs, the clerk of the National Assembly, nominating 4 persons to serve as members of the Police Service Commission. And I know for sure 2 of them out of the 4 are highly political. And looking forward, I must state that, look, the chairman of who would be appointed of the Public Service Commission will be a politician, and he's from somewhere from West Demerara. Now that I mentioned it, I might want to change it. So the association, as the unlawful association, has recommended persons for the Police Service Commission. And my point is, if the association is unlawful, anything that follows after that, the actions has got to be unlawful. So here we are waiting for persons to be made members of the Police Service Commission. And I must admit that, look, all the PPP chairmen of the Police Service Commission were politicians. We had Ronald Gadraj. We had Morgan from the East Coast. And we had the last one, Satnanan. He's presently the deputy political head of Region 3. So back to politics, back to politics, back to politics.
Is it too late to challenge the appointment election of the current police association?
I don't think it is too late, but persons are afraid. They're afraid that they'll be sent to Etteringban. They're afraid some who might be going to university, that they might sent to some place where there is no there's no internet connections and all sorts of things. They are afraid. I remember a colleague saying, "I'm afraid, Carl." No?
Are you saying that there is none among those who are close to retirement who can take what we said, take one for the team?
I want to use a big word. They are pusillanimous. They are afraid. They are timid. They are afraid that they're going to affect the pension and they're going to affect the gratuity and all sorts of things. I have spoken to quite a lot of them, but they're afraid.
You know, You mentioned transfer. Let me take you to a recent issue. I don't know if you heard of it. I understand a few weeks ago, but let's say a few weeks ago, there was a big cuss out in the police administration building between someone from the construction department and the person who is responsible for administration. Recent information suggests that the sergeant from construction was transferred to Region 8 or 7.
I wouldn't be surprised. First, I heard that he was going to TSU, but maybe that was too close. So I wouldn't be surprised. We had cases where women were transferred who just gave birth, transferred to Region 8 and those kind of things. And those were political decisions where appear posts and they run to Home Affairs and Home Affairs let the person proceed and they transfer.
And so transfers are used as a
weapon. It's a weapon they use then. And you know who's in charge of transfer?
or administration. Is Butas the administration man currently?
Yes, he is.
Okay, we were talking, you mentioned Soku. You mentioned the trumped up charges from Soku. Last I know, Karim Bash was at Soku, and he himself had some disciplinary issues before the Police Service Commission and so on. What is the most recent update on those issues, if you have? And what are your opinions of Karim Bash functioning at Soku?
Well, he Sue was slow, but I say Karim Bash was installed full stop. He was installed as the head of Suku. But let me get back to my take. I'm not going to discuss the charge as such, but let me give you some actions of Suku that I find to be incompetent, vindictive, and spiteful. I'm talking about personally with me. I was in office one morning. Now, before that, the directive that came not from the Commissioner of Police was to arrest Conway and others and pass slow, keep them overnight at Brickdam, and send them to court the next day. The information leaked out because, as you know, Suku is not confidential. We got the information. And also, they saw the advanced passenger manifest where Paul Slow was listed to traveling on the same day. So they sent up some persons to Timeri to arrest Paul Slow, put him in lockups, and escort him to Georgetown. Remember Suku with Dr. Ashley Singh, with Washington, with the current president, with Barrett Jagdeo, and others when they were in the opposition. Remember what Suku did to them, some people say unjustly. Now, three ranks came to me in my office, and they told me that they were inviting me to Suku to pen in an investigation of conspiracy to defraud footsteps. I said, give me details. They said that's all I got, and they invited me. I said, look, as you invited me, I'm not going anywhere. I'm turning on the invitation. They said, well, Karim Bass said, there's what Deputy Superintendent Harvey and Assistant Superintendent Ramana told me, that Karim Bass said that they must arrest me if I did not comply. I told them, look, I have just recorded you. I have recordings here, and I'm going to record everything from beginning to end. Took me to Suku, took me to Brickdam. At Brickdam, there was a police inspector there. And he said, Mr. Conway, you want to sell by yourself, or you want to place with others? And I smiled because I know for no reason I won't be going in any cell. I come from the brains of the police force years ago. So There was another inspector there, and believe me or not, Kadaki, he objected. He behaved like Ryan Crawford. Some colorful language, some flowery language, and he went away. Subsequently, Commander McBean came, and he said, look, Conway and others must not be placed in the lockups. They must stay in the holding area. 2 points came up there. One, I was able to record everything from beginning to end because they did not search me. The main thing is that when you arrest persons, you must search them. We had instances recently where Pastor mentioned people get arrested, and when they reach a beefy police station, they throw a bag and they find gun. When you arrest somebody, that's what I used to teach. They must be searched because you will find evidence relative to the charge. You find evidence relative to an additional charge. You prevent the person from injuring you, from injuring self, from damaging private or public property, and you take in safe custody of the prison's property. I wasn't searched, and I had my firearm with me from beginning to end. I had it with me. Not even a little pat down they didn't give me. Incompetence. And then again, I'm sorry, Kilaki, that I didn't go in the lockups. Because if I had gone there, I would have found a small piece of wire, I would have found a piece of sponge, and I would have found a cigarette lighter. And I would have handed over to them because I would have might have saved Brickdown Police Station from being burned down. So those are, and there are many other cases of incompetence and vindictive and spitefulness by Suku.
You know, I was about to ask you, when you said you were able to record everything, if it is normal that persons arrested are allowed to record, or you were privileged to record?
Well, I don't know, but if you arrest person, you take their property, right, for safekeeping. So that might be a ways and means to prevent them from recording events. But persons can record events. But when you're a prisoner, your liberty is restrained and your property is taken into custody. Those are standard procedures. And let me tell us a bit. Talking about political interference. You know, is a politician sent us on bail at Brickdown? After I went to Brickdown, the instructions were keep us till tomorrow morning. I moved to the court, habeas corpus. The judge accepted my application, but he postponed the case to another day because we had to serve the commissioner, the attorney general, and others with certain documents. So we asked for bail, and they say you can't get bail because you're going to court. You know what gave us bail? A politician. I have the recordings. In my presence and hearing, one of my contacts contacted a certain politician, and he said, I heard it clearly, that he's going to direct Karim Bash to send us on bail. And within half an hour, 2 ranks came from Karim Bash's office and sent us on our own recognizance. Here we were, persons with over 175 years of dedicated service to the Ghana police force. No conviction. All you got to tell us, come to court tomorrow, and in the next 15 minutes, we'll be there 15 minutes before the time. But a politician had to send us on bail. Commissioner can't give us bail. I spoke to Happy, political, I can't do nothing but it, as a case may be.
Political, I can't do anything about it. I think there is a standing order, I don't know if I'm correct, that you as an assistant commissioner of police, being arrested, was the ranks who were sent to arrest you, was that in keeping with the standing order? Or any rank can arrest you?
As long as you're treating it criminally, ranks doesn't come in play. A constable could arrest me. Okay. But if it's departmentally, you're dealing disciplinary-wise, it's called the Police Discipline Act says that every offense against discipline shall be investigated as soon as practicable by a member of the force not below the rank of a sergeant and of a higher rank than the rank whose unless you have committed the offense. So rank structure comes into play.
From your
And
recent
that's
observations, is that standing order being observed in the breach or
I
in
point
keeping
of
with
view,
good
it's not the
practice?
standard, it's not the standing order, you know, it's the law.
Okay,
Police Discipline Act, Chapter 1701.
yes. So is that being observed currently in the system or more in the breach?
It is being observed. No, more in the breach in a lot of cases. More in the breach in a lot of cases. When we became members of the Police Service Commission, we stood up for that because you had a constable used to investigate the sergeant and all kind of thing. Corporal investigating officers, and we said no, it must not happen. It must stop. It ceased, but I'm not certain if it's still going on.
All right, Mr. Conway. It's 8 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. I'm not about to let you go. I hope you have some more time to spend with us. I'm certainly enjoying your presence here.
Yes.
When the coalition was in office, one would argue that they seem to have had a grip on the behavior of the ranks of the Guyana police force. The crime statistics looked good. I say looked good. I don't know if they were good, but what we were seeing in the public were good statistics or improved statistics. I am sure you'll be monitoring. What are the statistics saying to you now? Or we can compare that period to this period.
I have a big query with the stats. I mean, it's good that the police checking to see how well they're doing. What they need to do deeper and broader analysis. They're looking at 11 crimes that they call serious crimes. Now, the point is, that was introduced by Larry Lewis, I think in 1990, and nothing has changed since then. Apart from rape, there is no other offense under the sexual offenses that is being analyzed. Drug trafficking is not being analyzed. And there are many other crimes that you will record that you call serious crimes are not being analyzed. They took Larry Lewis formula, hook, line, and sinker, and they're using it. But what they're looking at, percentage increase and percentage decrease. There is a tabulation of events. Nothing is being done to see whether it was conducted efficiently and effectively. One commander boasted that they have 100% decrease in murder last year, when last year they had 1 and this year they had none. And also we got to be careful that they might be ghosting. They might cock the figures, as we say. I used to hear in my days, cock the stats so we could look good. Why don't put on this one gonna make me stats look bad, as a case may be. If you want to know how well you're doing, go to your customers, go to the communities and do analysis, do surveys. Find out how well we're doing. And they have quite a number of competent persons there who have university degrees, who have first degree, who have masters. Do the analysis, go to the public, go and do analysis, and then you know how well. Don't tell me that murder reduced by 1% and all those kind of nonsense. It's just a tabulation of figures. Analyze the thing, go deep into it. Then is when you're going to. And when you go to the public and you do analysis, you're building a relationship. It's a win-win situation. The public will know that you're concerned about these things. And apart from that, if you want to know how well you're doing, look at your mission statement. Look at your mission statement. And the mission statement of the Guyana Police Force, part of it is flawed, where they say where their thing is that all citizens would be involved in solving crime and making Guyana a safer place. How can you have all persons involved? The mission must be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timely. And that mission there, that part there, it cannot be achieved and it's not realistic. So I'm saying, find another method, go deeper to analyze the crime situation.
Lies down, lies and statistics coming from the Ghana Police Force.
Yeah.
All citizens will be involved in solving crimes, according to the police force mission statement. Are you then? We should therefore not be surprised that the Sheriff Security Services had offered to perform police duties after the Brigham fire. You meant, pardon?
Yeah, go on. Repeat, please.
I was saying that since the mission statement says all citizens will be involved in solving crimes, we should not be surprised that Sheriff Security was bold enough to offer to perform policing duties when the Brigham fire took place.
Perhaps that is the thinking. Perhaps that is the thinking. But the police should have what we call auxiliaries. And I don't know if sheriff is an auxiliary of the police force.
Okay. In your earlier statement, you mentioned when you refer to Larry Lewis, I took concern that the categories of crimes that they're reporting on in terms of the statistics, times have changed so much. We have all kinds of cybercrime and so on,
Yes.
trafficking in person and all these kind of things are not being analyzed. You said Larry Lewis had intelligence and not Pegasus. What is this Pegasus you're telling us about?
I heard you already on Pegasus. It's the Israeli equipment that they use to monitor cell phones and all sorts of things on. And maybe it is in Guyana. I don't know.
Oh, maybe. Okay, Mr. Conway. It's 8:15. I'm going to open up the lines to calls. I don't know if you want to stay and field some of those calls if they have questions to you, or if you want to make closing statements and depart. Your choice.
I could stick around a while and then I make closing statements.
Very well. So the lines are open. 622-5933 is the number to call. You're tuned to the Buxtonian Morning Time. And we're chatting with former Assistant Police Commissioner Clinton Conway. Also a member or former member of the last Police Service Commission. So let's get those lines ringing. 622-5933. I saw a voice note. I will take the liberty to identify and say this is a former policewoman. So she has a right to speak on the police matters. You might recognize the voice, sir.
Can Mr. Conway explain to the viewers what are the functions of the transferred officers to COVID-19? What is the purposes for being transferred at COVID-19?
Hold the line, please.
Because they're not nurses, they're not doctors. What are they doing there? If he can explain. Thank you. Good morning.
The first day...
Did you have a question, sir?
Yeah, COVID-19. And an excellent question. Because Kadaki at COVID-19, you have Deputy Commissioner Williams. You have Assistant Commissioner Andrews Jr. You have Superintendent Stanton and a series of other ranks. Basically, what they're doing may be checking on COVID-19 positive cases and deaths. But now that the curve is apparently being flattened, I wonder what you do with them. Because you have 3 senior officers there. Williams is in the process of getting his doctorate. The others also have master's degree. What are they doing there? I do not know. I do not know their real functions apart from checking on COVID-19 cases.
And so they're being punished, actually. They've been taken out of the hierarchy of the police force, if I can say that.
Yeah, it's punishment, and it's political decision. The commissioner didn't send them. Those are political directives.
And so, let me ask you, does a transfer affect or impact the possibility of Williams, for example, becoming Commissioner of Police?
Definitely not. He's still a member of the force, a serving member of the force, and the number 2 man in the force. And when Happy goes and leaves, I don't know when, there would only be one deputy commissioner, and that would be Paul Williams.
Wow. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Again, good morning, Mr. Conley. I didn't catch the title, but former police officer. Now I spoke to her on her life that she lived, and she was a nurse. So she started about 3 years ago the magazine Ned, and I told them,
Caller,
and he listened to me, was a police. He said, must go across there and make the complaint. Then he called me back. He said, where and nothing that the police was doing in the matter. Anyhow, it continued. So, Christmas time now, this woman get more bad.
offline. The lines are up 6225933 is the number to call. 6225933 is the number to call. Do you have any question for Mr. Conway? Any comment? I saw somebody saying this is interesting. This is a lot of information, and Mr. Conway must come more often. Right? I'm sure you will be willing to come as often as I will invite you.
Anytime Kalaki have an abiding interest in law enforcement, and I'm not only making my views known, I'm putting up recommendations. I want the police to give the highest quality of service to this nation. That's what I want. Some people might feel I'm battering the police, but I'm not doing that.
Sometimes I like to be the devil's advocate. Let me ask you this question, Mr. Conway. You don't have to answer. Let me say that. It is a belief that former commissioner, deceased police commissioner, or a number of deceased police commissioners went to the grave with some dark secrets. For example, the Monica Reese murder, among other high-profile cases which I'm sure you can identify. Were those cases solvable, or they truly cold cases?
Some may be solvable. I remember Ramna Ryan saying that when he was acting commissioner, that the Monica Reese was solvable. But by now, persons who may be main victims might have gone to the great beyond. And like the commissioners, they might have gone to the great beyond with their dark secrets. It's not only commissioners alone, we go to the grave with dark secrets also too.
So the Guyana Police Force has had a history of protecting the higher-ups.
Well, let me say there were allegations.
Voice note.
Yes, morning to you, Kadaki. I would like you to ask Mr. Conway for me if he has any information, which he doesn't have to say, about the Henry's boys murder.
You heard that one,
No,
sir?
I don't have any information about the Henry's boy, apart from what I read in the press, that they were committed to some trial in the High Court. But I'm saying there are many more questions than answers.
Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Kadiki. Good morning, Mr. Conway.
Morning.
I'm one of your product. I trained under you. You trained me. I could remember your famous word, hard and rigid.
You left out stiff. Hard, stiff, and rigid.
Yeah, I know, yeah. But that was a long time. Mr. Conway, I know that as a former member of the police force, I could recall a lot of instances where political involvement. My question: what could be done? I know you got it in the manner how things are being arranged, particularly with starting from the head of the force. is political involvement there. But what could be done to minimize much of these political interference in the force? And what you think? Do you think, with the forces at this present time, for a moment, if it will come back, if we have a change in government, if it will come back quickly, or will this situation here cause extreme damage? Those are my questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
I said in my opening that there has been political involvement in the police force. There is and there will be. It depends on the gravity and the nature of the political involvement. What is needed is that you have to get strong policemen leaders. The commissioner has got to be able to stand up and not be there protecting his pension and gratuity. And as I mentioned, maybe they can take a couple of leaves. I mean, Larry Lewis wasn't no angel, although I know that angels who are associated with Satan came down in the world. But he had certain qualities, and I said he had actionable intelligence that he used effectively. So we need to make sure that you have actionable intelligence as a leader, and also be strong, be able to stand up to the politicians, because they're going to come to you, and they're going to come to you from both sides of the divide. I don't know if a change of government will change things, but if a change of government, there still will be political involvement. What is the leadership of the force? The commissioner and his men, not like we have now a commissioner and you have a gang of 5 fighting against him, hostile to overthrow him, to undermine him. There got to be unity, and it all depends on leadership at the top. And if they say fish rottens from his head.
Conway Live, good morning.
Hello. Hi, good morning. Mr. Conway, a question for you. What is your take on the police taking gifts from private citizens? For example, what Mohammed did there the other day. I can remember living in Bahamas when Police Commissioner Greenslade got Christmas gifts, and he had to give them back. He publicly stated he got gifts and gave them back. So I would like to know what is your take on the police force accepting these things, which are, each police force should at least have these things. These are administrative equipment that should be allotted in budget, etc., to give to police force, which is they entitled to those things, not no citizen presenting them computer printers, etc. What is your take on that?
I believe that the government should fund the police force, give them all the resources that they require to perform their duties, and they don't have to run to Tom, Dick, or be Harry to accept gifts. Because most times people don't give freely. They give with an intent. They expect something to think. And that's where that's where the corruption starts, The freebies. And when the freebies are not readily available, people would start to demand. And in most times they demand with menace. So I'm saying, and it's my view, that the government should fund the police force or international organizations, but not the private citizens.
Voice note.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki and Mr. Conway. We have a police force in Guyana. I mean, you don't have to be a graduate to see what is going on with our police force, our policemen and women, because the professionalism is not there any longer. You can see policemen and women breaking the law daily, and there is no such thing as penalty for that, or even for the normal persons. Once they are friends to the police or to some political person, they can break the law. They tell you what they want, they do what they want, and they say to you, you could go to the police. The police can't do anything because they have political friends in high places. And I'm saying any country that you find this going on, that means we're in a bad place, a bad shape. Guyana is in trouble. And I'm asking that God intervene and take the wheels very soon. Thank you.
Thank you for that voice note. Mr. Conway,
Yeah.
some years ago, under the previous PPP administration, the British had offered help, which was kind of turned down. I remember the famous statement from Dr. Luncheon at the time that they want to maintain their
Integrity or
right. And then under the Granger administration, that help was offered. And we had this guy, what's his name?
Russell Combe?
Yes, heading that police reform. What do you know about the current state of that reform? Was it dismantled? Do you know?
I don't think it's going anywhere because they had what you call also, apart from that. Apart from that, they had what you call the citizen security
strengthening program, which was part.
No, that was for the citizen security. I can't remember the other one, but you have the citizen security strengthening program now. There's a follow-up to what was done, but quite a lot of things that was done in the citizen security reform program were implemented, but those things just took a backseat. Sometimes, and I'm talking a bit of politics, if it's a PPP thing, it ran. If it's a PNC thing, it ran. Sometimes we don't look at policy and we don't look at what is good for this country.
Thank you.
I don't know what the person will do.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki and your guest, Mr. Conmore. My question to your guest this morning, wouldn't it be best advice? Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Yes. Wouldn't it be to stem the situation, the best advice when it comes to correcting wrong by the police or the services that is there to protect and serve the citizens of a nation? Wouldn't it be to prosecute, okay, the commanders of these different divisions, as well as the commissioner force? As you rightfully said, the strength comes from the boss, okay? If the boss knows the law, whether he was a graduate from university or high school, if he knows the law and he is prepared to accept political interference to mash on the rights of the citizens of a nation, shouldn't it be the rightful thing to stem the situation, to prosecute the heads of these different divisions? And Guyanese should demand it, because that's the only way you're going to stop it. You have to prosecute them. When the government change, administration change, these people must be prosecuted. They must pay for it. If you just sweep it under the rug and allow them to come again to have political interference, it will never stop. So my
morning, neighbor. Morning. There's no one make in morning. How are you doing? Welcome to another program of Buxtonian Morning Time.
Never Joe. Never Joe. Never Joe. Oh, morning, neighbor. Morning, neighbor. all you hustle for tell me morning. Yes, morning neighbor. Morning neighbor, morning. Morning neighbor, morning. Morning, I don't want you conniving morning. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. This is all the money that me walk for. I said morning neighbor, morning neighbor, morning, morning neighbor, morning, morning. I don't want you conniving morning. Oh Joseph.
ASK Promotion presents Countryside Laughs, Saturday 23rd April at KAMS Place Sideline down Buxton. Showtime 6 p.m. Tickets $1,000. Non-stop laughter. Countryside Laugh.
Morning, neighbor. Morning. It's Friday. Remember to go down to Waffle Mania 592 from about 4 o'clock this afternoon. And you can get waffles with all kinds of fillings. Waffles with pork, waffles with chicken, waffles with fish, waffles with whatever you want it with. Right? Check them out. Down Milwaukee Road, Buxton Milwaukee Road, over the railway line. About 5 buildings on your left-hand side. Yes, Waffle Mania 592. You can't miss it. The aroma alone will be your guidance. You can use the aroma as your, what we call these things these days? These things that give you direction, man. I can't remember, you know. But you don't have to use Google Maps. Just follow the aroma and you'll get to Waffle Mania 592. Go there this afternoon and tantalize your palate. Yes, it is 7 hours 50. Some people might be cussing me, you know. They might be wondering why I would play this entire program from Mr. Conway yesterday. Well, I think it warranted it. It really warranted it. Because as you know, yes, John Clare, thank you, GPS. They cut our program yesterday because they said when you can't stand the heat in the kitchen, you must get out. Right? You either stay and run, stay and burn, or you cut and run. I think they wanted us to cut and run, and it looks like though they're troubling with our numbers again. Yesterday, we had over 700 persons tuned to the program, listening to Mr. Conway's assessment of what's happening at the Guyana Police Force. And whoops! The forces that be cut us off. I am sure it wasn't Facebook, because I was still connected to Facebook, except that my viewers weren't getting the feed. So there was a blockage between KAMS TV and the viewers. You know what happens there, right? When they can't stand the heat in the kitchen, they try to burn down the whole damn thing, right? So that's why we play this program. Because of the fact that Guyanese need to know what's really happening over at the Guyana Police Force. And it's happening, that discussion was taking place while the annual police officers conference was taking place, right? So I think it was a timely discussion. Not necessarily planned to happen like that, but you know, as the elements would have it, it happened like that. And so they couldn't stand the heat. And you know, we're coming to a time when Hoppy is going to go home. According to Conway, the man said it's political, I can't do nothing. So we're going to get rid of, well, we'll be seeing the back of one other police commissioner, acting or otherwise, who sits in a constitutional office and tells citizens that when politicians misbehave, they can't do anything about it. This country has a long history of that. And we really have to come to a point where we hold our public officials accountable. If you can't do the work, if you're not willing to do the work, if you're not willing to challenge the politicians when they're breaching the law and committing crimes of all sorts, then you're collecting money by false pretense. You're pretending to be a law enforcement officer because you're not enforcing the law. And so we have to see the back of many of those. As a matter of fact, if you were following the conversation, former Assistant Commissioner Conway says that he believes that a lot of people should be superseded in the Guyana Police Force. Well, I am one of those persons who generally cuss up when people get superseded, because I say they have given up their time, they came through the ranks, they've gathered experience and so on, and anticipated getting to the higher level. But if you are going to get to the higher level by tokenism, or you want to be grandfathered into the position and sit there and fail to act in the best interest of the citizens of the country, you might as well go home. There are different ways by which you can go home. I would prefer you get sent home on early retirement, so you still enjoy your benefits, but you don't sit there and suck from the nipples of the coffers of the state pretending that you're a law enforcement officer. Avril, you just looked at yesterday's program, assuming you tuned in at 6. Otherwise, you can go to KAMS TV page on Facebook. It's always there. All the programs that we do, you can find on KAMS TV page. Just look for the date. Scroll down and you'll see the programs as you go through. You will see them by date, or mostly by date. The most recent is supposed to be at the top, right? And so in this instance, I agree with the former Assistant Commissioner. Send them home. He said many of them are past 50 and they can get early retirement. Send them home. Because there are several persons, 46 I think to be exact, who are trained. And Conway says they were trained under conditions which make them better than most of them who are masquerading right now as senior police officers. Send them home on early retirement so that the younger minds, fresher minds, more diligent policemen and women can come to the fore and really serve and protect the people of this country, not serve and protect politicians. Right? That's what I'm saying. Again, those of you who listened, and I'm encouraging you, if you didn't listen to the discussion with Mr. Conway yesterday, go to the page and listen it. Because you need to have a clear understanding of where we are in terms of policing in this country. Can you imagine a man who has served the Guyana Police Force for decades, has been responsible for training of several of the officers, perhaps the majority, perhaps all of them, who are currently in the higher ranks of the Guyana Police Force. Being bold enough to sit and tell the public that those who are currently there vying for leadership of that institution are not deserving. Because many of them, I don't think he used this exact words, but that's my interpretation. Many of them are criminals. Among the possible crimes listed is drug trafficking, and not marijuana, but cocaine. Can you imagine that? The head of your institution, your policing institution, or possible head, being allegedly involved in such nastiness. I've always been saying for years, since this program started, that many of the people who are responsible for investigating major crimes at the Guyana Police Force are themselves major criminals. Who say no sound? Watch again what's happening there. If you're getting no sound, they're messing with us again. Because I'm seeing my sound meters and they're looking good. Watch, you can't check your device. Folks, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up or something. Right? At the officers' conference, the fat guy said there are a number of things he wants to see. He wants softer speaking police. He doesn't like the idea of policemen shouting. Ranks of police shouting at civilians. It's part of the coercion. It is part of the coercion. He wants those people who are selling liquor to the already what we call them, drunk, intoxicated, to face the consequences of the law. Very good ideas, man, the fat guy wants. But I didn't hear him say that his government will get their hands off of the police. They will reduce or totally remove political interference in the functioning of the Guyana police force. Right? No. We didn't hear that. And that is one of the problems we have in this society. Political interference in the Guyana police force. If there is no political interference and preference, there's nothing under the sun that could make it even remotely possible for a creature like Clifton Hicken, or creatures like Clifton Hicken, Karimbash, Brutus, Caesar, and a whole long list of them, to even think that they have a shot at becoming commissioner of police. But they can have that hope because they know their political godfathers and mothers, their pimps and handlers, are members of the corrupt cabal whom they protect. Guyanese citizens, we have to be more vigilant, we have to be more demanding. And that is why I love the fact that I come here every morning and I highlight issues. I don't know how much you do with the information you get, but I trust that you are being educated and you're prepared to use that information to demand a just and fair society. The most qualified person, according to Conway, the number 2 man as he referred to him right now in the Guyana Police Force, is Deputy Commissioner Paul Williams. But where's Paul Williams? At the COVID-19 unit. Transferred, seconded with a lot of other senior policemen at the COVID-19 unit. Maybe that is why the COVID-19 numbers are down. Because those senior men might be intimidating the virus with their guns or their police training. Because rightfully they have no place there. They should be in the Guyana police force proper, solving crimes. But because they are not political lackeys, they, along with lots of others, have been sent all over the place. I see Jean or Jean Neblet is saying the fat guy is looking for anti-men for police because he wants police to speak to civilians in a more polite way. I disagree with you, Jean. There's something called customer relations, and the citizens of this country are external customers of the Guyana Police Force. And just as you would expect for any other public service or public servant to be polite, you should expect policemen and women to be polite. But you must also be aware that they have the authority in charge when you breach the laws. You don't have to be impolite to carry out your functions. Policemen and women look at civilians and tell them all kinds of things in the execution of their duties. Things which they are not to be saying. I perhaps can say I have a lot of police friends. And sometimes I look at some of them with scorn. Then the question comes into mind, are they friends or associates? I look at some of them with scorn because of their behavior towards civilians. Policemen and women believe that civilians are a nuisance to them. At least lots of policemen and women. Civilians do a disservice to them when they have to seek their intervention. As soon as the police sees a civilian walking into the gate of the police station, it's vexation. I mean, they're the exceptions. I've met some wonderful, decent and considerate police ranks. I want to call a name. They might say me your friend and they're going to target you. At least some of them. But I've met some good police. Decent people. They make you want to go to the police station every day. But my God, I've also met quite the opposite. They handle civilians like their children. Well, I wouldn't even handle my children like that. So they handle them perhaps like I wouldn't even handle my dogs like that. They treat them in humane ways. And so I'm on the side of the fat guy who is telling them, I want to see more politeness in your interaction with the public. I'm certainly there with the fat guy. So John Neblet, we disagree on that one. But there's a lot that is desired of the Guyana police force. You have criminals working to solve crimes. It's putting cat to watch milk. One of the things which you didn't hear Mr. Conway say yesterday because he cut us off is that Karen Bash, as the head of SOKU, caused an investigation to be done into the operations of the finance unit. Alleged that fraud was discovered. Sent the file to the DPP, the HAP. The HAP returned the file saying there is not enough evidence in this file to charge. Do not charge. Do not charge. One phone call to Mr. Third Term. Chief, big fraud at the police finance department, and the DPP said don't charge. One call to the DPP from the Third Term. And within hours, the instruction changed. That individual is now before the courts. That individual will have their day in court. And I'm believing that since in the first instance the DPP said there was no evidence, I am believing there was no evidence. Right? But that was used, or that is being used to demonstrate the depth of political interference in the Guyana police force. And vindictiveness and incompetence. Because as a police officer, a senior police rank, Why is it you have to call a politician to get police work done? Why? These are things that Guyanese need to pay attention to and demand. You're hearing all kinds of advice. Adam Harris, for example, said, don't go on the street and protest. They got too many guns out there. The client says, going on the street, the U.S. will not allow you to interfere with its interests. I am saying that every day there's a reason for Guyanese to go on the streets and protest. Demanding a better functioning Guyana police service is a good reason for going out there and protest. I know I said Guyana police service, because I believe the word force is what adds to their arrogance. I put some of them up to civilians, man-to-man civilians. They won't utter half of the nonsense that they tell people. We need a more professional police force. We need the politicians to get their hands off of the force. Save and accept for implementing policies that will be of service to the people. The issue of issuing firearms in this country is part of the function of the Guyana Police Force. As a matter of fact, it might have changed because I didn't check it recently, but as far as I know, the issuing of firearm license is really supposed to be a function of the Commission of Police. A resident of a particular community requires a firearm license. They apply to the divisional police station. The divisional police station will do their necessary investigations to verify the character of that person, etc., etc. Send a report forward to say, well, yes, this is a bona fide businessman, etc. He has good standing in the community. He has had so many robberies over the year at this place, and we believe it is prudent that he has something to protect his business and assets. These are our recommendations. Commissioner of Police signs off, finalizes that. And wherever, if there's a licensing board or whatever, that's the next step. Politicians are not controlling this process. Politicians are saying to the Commissioner of Police who can get or who should get firearm licenses. I'm informed that one particular person accused of drugs, being a drugs runner, applied for a license, was denied by the commissioner, not recommended. A politician or a doctor, let me call it right because I assume the doctor is a politician, because the doctor is functioning out of the office of the president, calls the commissioner and says, give this man a firearm license. Commissioner said, well, you know, sir, doctor, whoever you be, this man is accused of drug running. This man was on the investigation or is on the investigation, and the doctor said he has never been convicted. Give him the license. And there are several instances of those. But you know why those instructions are coming from this doctor at the office of the president? He's the go-between between the cabal and the criminal elements and their cohorts. Dependent on the caliber of the weapon that you want a license for, the price starts at $1.2 million. $1.2 million. And the doctor is the bad man. Just as how Sue rents the vice president's house. And according to the interview published by the vice president, the interview he had with the vice reporter, just as how Sue claims to be the bag man, this doctor at the office of the president is a bag man. They go between. He can make anything happen once it involves getting a firearm license. And Guyanese must be aware of these things. And these are the things we must take to the streets to challenge. We don't want to topple the government by way of coup. But we want good governance. And we want fair elections. And there's nothing wrong taking to the streets to make those demands. You see, some people believe that some things are exclusive. It is that you're challenging the status quo, the political status quo, or the administrative status quo. No, all of those things can be challenged at once. And that is why I'm always saying there is always a reason to have the mother of all protests in this country. But everybody wants to separate and segregate their issues. The nurses and their risk allowance, they want to protest alone. Other public servants and increase in pay, they want to protest alone. People are being discriminated by the politicians, want to protest alone. Bring all your issues together. And put tens of thousands of people on the streets to demand a better society. And better society encompasses all of those things. But no, we want to remain in our little cliques. And that is why change is so difficult. The rice farmers who are in Borbis currently protesting for better rice price. I dare say, I don't know all of them, but I dare say, very few or none of them must have even taken an hour to join a protest line to chant down the wickedness of this government, because most of them look like the people in government, and most of them are pillars on which this cabal stands. But now they're bawling for rice prices. And they're bawling for other people to support their struggle. And many of us will say, oh, y'all are your own. Y'all vote for them. Deal with them. But is it an opportunity for all those with legitimate discontent to join those, and so let the nation, let the world know how discontented we are as citizens? If we keep segregating our issues and segregating ourselves, it's a better day for the political cabal, the kleptocracy. It's a better day for the doctors who are selling firearm licenses. It's a better day for those at Brigdam and the Ministry of Housing who are in the firearm license business. And they know themselves. They say the fish rots from the head. It's a better day for all of them. Let us remain focused. Let us stay woke. Let us hold this government and every department of state, every public service department, and every private sector operative accountable for the actions. That is what we are to do. But I bet we are going to to sit back and allow this corrupt administration to foist upon the Guyanese people a corrupt commissioner of police. Because that is what they like. They can pull the strings of the corrupt. And so they're not likely to be fair in the appointment of a commissioner of police. According to Conway, the only qualified officer in the Guyana police right now at the higher echelons is Paul Williams, Deputy Commissioner of Police Paul Williams. He's qualified academically. He's qualified by way of professionalism and experience. And some say integrity. I generally don't vouch for anybody's integrity. Because if night should turn today, a lot of us might get skin up. But if they say so, we can take it so, or we can investigate it to prove it is not so. But thus far, it seems as though Paul Williams is standing on solid ground. But that doesn't matter. It usually doesn't matter to this corrupt administration. It is now 20 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. I'm going to open up the lines. It's free talk Fridays, not loose talk. Right? Coffee sent me an early voice note which is pertinent to this discussion, and so I will start the open line with it.
There are several problems wrong with Guyana. But one of the biggest problems with Guyana historically has been the barbarism, the brutality, the system of brutality of the Guyana police force. It is the glue which all other parts of this institution of the state use to abuse and suppress the rights of the people. I'm going to say it again. It is the apparatus which the state uses to suppress the rights of the people in every aspect of society. The Guyana police force, brutality. You've got police beating people in the lockups with cat o' nine tails. Still in 2022. You've got police beating police officers. It's called licks. They got to take the licks. You've got a system that teaches police officers brutality is the way. Guyana is just getting out of corporal punishment, but it exists in the police system and it should not be. You know the reason why people can't even go to the streets to protest is because of the brutality of the police, not the brutality of Nandalal. Nandalal can't take nobody off the street. Jack Dio can't take nobody off the street. It is the brutality of the police system which they learn from the British and which all, not some, all of these superintendents, assistant superintendents, station sergeants, from top to bottom, condone and love and take pride in facilitating. They call that good policing. And I wish to God, those who claim to be a moral compass of incompetence in the police force, address it. The PPP cannot enforce their vindictive ways unless they work through the police. It's the police that do it. And the police believe that that is part and parcel of good police conduct and police work. As a result, we are all victims. Every crevice and corner of Guyana is suppressed by the Guyana police force. That is why the word force is there. Force don't need to be on police. You don't hear the New York talking about no New York police force. But the force of brutality, that's why the force is there. So for those who are talking about democracy, need to understand the nuts and the bolts of it. The Guyana police force needs to be revamped. From top to bottom, that system that they inherit from the British needs to be in the garbage bin. It's no good. It's a poison to the entire fabric of Guyana democracy. Democracy can't move an inch unless they address the systematic oppressive ways of the Guyana police force, which they inherit from the British and which they love to uphold. That goes for every administration that goes in there. The APNU, AFC, they kept it alive as well. And the PPP are continuing the same. But without parties, the police force is a poison. It needs to be fixed. And we need to recognize that. Not just talk about it, but recognize it. And I wish Mr. Paul Slow would speak about the poisonous of the system that they inherited from the British to oppress a newly liberated people who were enslaved. And that system that the police force got from the British exists to this day. That is why brutality and force is at the forefront of everything the police does. Even the way they talk to people. They put brutality in the way they explain things. You can hear it coming from them.
Thank you for that voice. No, the lines are now open. 6225933 is the number to call. You tune to the Buxtonian Morning Time.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki. There are several problems wrong with Guyana.
Call your live. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Kadaki. Good morning to the listening public. The professionalism in the police force has gone right down. During the last administration, when a policeman stops you, he's most courteous, right, and more professional, right? He asks where you're working and all these things. Probably might have asked that because you gotta know how to deal with you. However, that has gone down the drain. It's no longer there. These police are more arty, right? And they more feel, they think that, okay, you should be doing them a service, not they doing you a service, right? Secondly, I see in the news yesterday, Mr. Armand said, okay, he's finished, and he's finished. Well, I don't have a problem with Mr. Armand finish. If he's finished, he's finished. Probably he get a better offer in, what's the place name, as fighting the war, right? As a 4-star general or something, he could probably recruit some men and go there and fight, right? Thirdly is Mr. Greenwich. He said, okay, he declined the offer to sit in Parliament. These guys, I think that they shouldn't even be asked to go to Parliament because he has outlived his usefulness, right? And it's time that he, come off the scene too, right? Because, we need younger people to take up the mantle. So he won't be missed. He won't be missed. That's my contribution. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Let's talk about Greenwich in particular. You see, Armand said he's done, he's finished. And Greenwich said he has refused the offer to go to Parliament. And according to the caller, they won't be missed. And this is the problem with our society, right? The older heads believe that if they are not in the forefront, there is no use to them. And a lot of the younger heads believe that taking over from the older heads means that they must disappear. No. That is the issue with this society, and that is why everybody is trying to hold on for dear life till death do us part. There's always room for a role for all the more experienced politicians. The younger men and women, the younger political heads might have modern thinking or modern ideas, definitely more energy, but certainly need the experience and guidance of the older politicians. And so there must be a coming together. There must be a bridging of that generation gap politically. If you expect to succeed, so taking Harman out of Parliament or asking Harman to demit his seat in Parliament doesn't necessarily mean Harman should retire from politics. Goodness might be peeved at the PNC, etc., because of all of the injustices which many of us know he had to endure. But if you call yourself public figures and patriots and servants to the people of Ghana, then you have to ask yourself, do I allow that to rob the citizens of what I have to offer? Or do I still participate in a way and shape that I'm comfortable with to deliver to the citizens? These are the things we must consider. Some of us put ourselves out there, and it comes right back to the police force and other things. A lot of us vie for political office and want to be higher up in the political hierarchy. Not because we truly and sincerely have the interests of the people at heart, but we recognize political office as a means to an end. Once we have that political coverage, we have that coverage of high political office, then we do what we like, when we like, how we like. We abuse the resources of the state in the name of politics. You think any damn love could have looked at a woman and told her she needs a dildo as an ordinary citizen of this country and not be charged by the police? Never. You think any Kwame McCoy could have assaulted Tabitha Sarbo as an ordinary citizen of this country and get off with it? Never.
Morning.
And there are so many other examples of what these politicians use political office for and why many of them strive to get there and hold on for dear life. It's not about serving people, it's about themselves. Caller Live, good morning.
Morning, Kadaki. Morning, Guyana. Great program. I think I would say the majority or a good amount of Guyanese simply have no clue of what's going on within the country, and they're very passive and basically, nonchalant. You're providing great information, but, the question is whether they're receiving it or they just say, man, look, there's nothing I can do about that. The mafia-style government that's in place right now is simply not going to let up. And they have beaten and broken down I would say preferably the Afro-Guyanese. For 23 years they've been in there. And the Afro-Guyanese have just thrown their hands up and basically have given up because they do not see a leader fighting. You know, they're playing basically politics, which is, well, they're going to try incrementally to do certain things, but the whole system needs to be blown up and, you know, start over. I mean, the level of corruption that's in that place, what do people see? They think that's normal. And that's the problem. Too much friggin' corruption from top to bottom. And even if, say, the APNU, while they weren't there, they did absolutely nothing. Maybe it curtailed, but I don't think they made the right moves and right steps to actually bring this under control. So it's going to take the people. While we waiting for a new commissioner of police, we should be protesting. We're always protesting, or we'll raise our voices after the fact, not before. So if we're always behind the 8 ball, we will stay and oppress downtrodden people. And that's my take.
Thank you. The lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. The voice note, Coffee's voice note, mentioned the behavior of policemen and women, police ranks, while the coalition was in office. I always maintain, in many instances, police misbehavior occurs because it is encouraged by the state. The Granger administration wasn't going to have certain behavior, and so police exhibited good behavior. It means they're capable of good behavior.
Good morning.
Caller Live, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. This caller preceding the last caller, he was talking about the attitude of the police. Why did the police were behaving like that at the Ashman building? And coming back to Mr. Conway, I want to know if it's only after he had left the police force became what it is today with all the corruption that is going on. I know when I was a little guy, they were very respectable people. They never used to carry gun, they used to carry baton. But this corruption started after the crisis, the economic crisis of the country where everybody had to survive. Police started to take bribes. That was in Boredom time. The police force goes right down from there. Now, Mr. Conway, I want any police to go to a polygraph. These people were talking about they can change the force and all these kind of things. Let them take a polygraph test to see during their period if they've ever participated in any wrongdoing. Because I've seen many police who work for very minimum salary, but then their asset does not correspond with their income. So can Mr. Khan tell me if his asset that he has right now, if they can match up his income that he have earned during the period of time that he worked in the police force? That my take this morning.
Thank you for your take. Like Desiderata said, even the dull and the ignorant, they too have their story. You know, I love Desiderata so much because it really guides me with the behavior of some folks. Now we're talking about police reform, let me call it that. We're examining the issues affecting the society and policing. And here is a citizen calling first and foremost to attack the messenger, because that's what I see it as. Let this man who is telling us what is wrong with the police force tell us if he has ever done wrong, if his assets match his income, and so on and so forth. Police wrongdoing existed since in the time of Forbes Barnum, right? Rape and burglary and domestic violence and failure to maintain children and corporal punishment or abuse, child abuse. All of these things existed before Barnum and during Barnum. And so we should not, caller, we should not examine the nexus. We should not get to the root of the issue. We should not try to solve them for a better Guyana. Right? And you know what is frightening and sickening about this scholar? He's supposed to be one of the educated among us. That's the problem. Sometimes we need to take off the blinders that our political handlers put upon us and deal with issues from a humane and humanistic point of view. But no, some of us are so caught up with the warmth of our soup that we can't see beyond those blinders. Are the observations of Mr. Conway factual? Are they grounded in the basis of evidence? Are we seeing these things happening in our society? Are we comfortable in them, with them? Do we want them to continue? Those are the things that I want us to consider in this discourse. Conway himself said, Laurie Lewis was no angel, but he had a particular way of solving crime and dealing with politicians. Henry Green was no angel, but he too solved crime. Winston Felix was no angel, but he dealt with the politicians in a certain way. History will show that he was a man who had a gall to carry the fight to Roger Khan and the Phantom Squad, the killing squads, and bring some reprieve to Guyanese. Was he an angel? Certainly not. I am sure he has his darker sides. So what this call is saying, because folks have done wrong or possibly have done wrong, they have no right to pronounce on what is wrong in this society. We're in the Lenten season and the good book tells us that Christ told those who were accusing the woman, the fornicator, I think, or adulterer, he who is without sin casts the first stone. Well, you know, we all have sinned. I usually tell you all I got my skeletons, but they're so small. But the question is, they got big sin and small sin? All of us have done wrong. But how does that wrong affect our society? And should our society accept and live with it? Or should we all work towards having a better society? Y'all don't come to me with this nonsense. The lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. 80 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. They will use one of us to say it's one of us. That's what the boys say. The lines are open. Let's talk the thing. The lines are dead. Nobody wants to call. Well, it's 80 minutes to 9. I can take my leave. People are talking about the rice farmers protest. It's Guyanese protest. And we have to start seeing protests in that light. The rice farmers see the protest, the public servants protest as the public servants protest or the black people protest. The public servants see the rice farmers protest as them Kuli people protest. When are we going to see protests on its merit? Has the cost of production for rice risen? Has the cost of living risen? Do people have a right to demand a better quality of living? Do people have the right to demand a higher price for their product, given the fact that they had to put in higher priced inputs? Yes, I think so. Should we as citizens support each other's call for fairness and justice? Yes, I think so. But are we doing it? No. We allow politicians to push us in corners and group us, separate us by grouping. Them black man, them public servant. Them coolie, them rice farmer. Right? Them APNU, them PPP. That's what we do. We allow them to put us in brackets and control us. Like corral. Is that a word? Where you want to control, where you want to control animals on a ranch, you corral them. I think that's the word, corral. So all of us are placed in corrals. Right? And so they control us. We ain't got independence of thought anymore. Right? Get it together and confine a group of people. That's how you corral. Yes, that's what they do. Corral us. And we're happy with that. Anyways, it's Free Talk Fridays. And since it would appear as though nobody has an interest in calling anymore, let me do what I do on Fridays and so enjoy some good reggae music with the message. Right? When you all call, we can gaff. I've had my say for the morning. Right? Wish me luck. And I wish you all luck. Right now we need some Gideon boots in this country. Richie Spice.
Okay, roll.
Remember to go down to 592 from 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah, nah, nah. I need a Gideon boot and a khaki suit. We stand out in a Babylon and represent the truth. Me nah go stay a road and see bad things and keep me mouth from mute. I got a strong reggae beat with a mic in a me hand. To lead out the youth about a destruction and tell the people they should know
right from wrong. What are you like? Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon. Kadaki, good morning.
Good morning, caller. You're live.
I'm not hearing you. You're not answering me. Good morning.
Caller, good morning. You're live. You have to listen to me, not the program.
Okay. I just called to tell you good morning.
Okay, good morning. Have a wonderful day and a great weekend.
You're not getting no calls. Yeah.
Have a good day, caller. Thank you for your consideration.
All right. Have a blessed one.
Yes, Richie Spice, man.
We got the strength, we got the power to help each other up the ladder. Don't be selfish to help your brothers today. We can make it if we try. Just remember to hold your head high. It doesn't make sense when we fuss and fight. I need a Gideon boot and a khaki suit. We stand out in a Babylon and defend the truth. Me nah go sit aside and watch Babylon and keep me mouth from mute. I've got a strong reggae beat and a mic in a me hand. To lead out the youth them out of destruction and let the people know right from wrong. All who believe in love will get a blessing from above. No. Class, I say, yeah. Got to let the people know the right from the wrong. They are depending on you to lead the way, yeah. People just be wise, believe it. The future generation depends on you. Hey, show a little love in your heart and let the people know there's more to life. I need a Gideon boot and a khaki suit. We stand up in a Babylon and defend the truth. Me nah go sit aside and watch Babylon and keep me mouth on mute. I've got a strong reggae beat and a mic in my hand. We need out the youths out of destruction.
Good morning.
I noticed they get protest Saturday. AFC protest with the Ukraine situation there. But when we get protesting, the way they don't call protest with them time too. I mean, Guyana get some serious problems too. I know they get division between the EFC and the PNC or what. You come together and make protests. General, this one say thing. That's my take.
Thank you, caller. We got our own Putin here. So we should be have a good day. We should be protesting against our own Putin. By Jack Johnny from Ali Cabal. Y'all in here, Richie Spice? I will play it for you again. Richie Spice, I want y'all to listen to the message. Right? Listen to the message. Make your calls.
What?
There's a voice note. Let me play it and then I return to Richie.
Kidaki like Rhonda get vexed with you, man. I know what's up with she this morning. She ain't even call. Rhonda don't get vexed with Kidaki.
Like you want to get vexed with me because I'm going to tell you that. Anyhow, let me tell you that this one is a frivolous. It's a frivolous matter. Rhonda's not angry with me. Those of you who are following the program will notice she said in the chat she's off to court. She has to attend court today. Right? Rhonda has to go to court today in that matter with herself and the police or former policewoman. She was accused of cyberbullying when her phone was taken away and all of those stuff. Right? So that is why she didn't call this morning. I'm sure Rhonda and I are solid. Right? If I need to upbraid Rhonda, I generally will call her offline. But yesterday I cut her off to save her from herself. Anyways, Richie Spice, talk to them. Preach and teach. Beat and teach.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, nah, nah. I need a Gideon boot and a khaki suit. Me stand out in a Babylon and represent the truth. Me nah go say a road and say bad things and keep me mouth on mute. I got a strong reggae beat with a mic in my hand. To lead out the youth about a destruction and tell the people they should know right from wrong. We got the strength, we got the power to help each other up the ladder. Don't be selfish to help your brothers today. We can make it if we try. Just remember to hold your head high. It doesn't make sense when we fuss and fight. I need a Gideon boot and a khaki suit. We stand out in a Babylon and defend the truth. Me nah go sit aside and watch Babylon and keep me mouth on mute. I've got a strong reggae beat and a mic in my hand. To lead out the youths them out of destruction and let the people know right from wrong. All who believe in love will get a blessing from above. No. Give a light to the poorer class, I say, yeah. Got to let the people know the right from the wrong. They are depending on you to lead the way, yeah. People just be wise, believe in yourself. future generation depends on you. Hey, show a little love in your heart and let the people know there's more to life. I need a Gideon boot and a khaki suit to stand up in a Babylon and defend the truth. Me nah go sit aside and watch Babylon and keep me mouth on mute. I've got a strong reggae beat and a mic in my hand to lead out the youths out of destruction and let the people know right from wrong. All who believe in love will get a blessing from above. No. The next generation to come. I need a Gideon boot and a khaki suit to stand up in a Babylon and represent the truth. Alright, I know me now go stand around and keep me mouth from you. I need a tune where they beat with a mic in my hand.
Bumbaclad. You know, I don't always have to speak. I love reggae music, and reggae music speaks for me. And sometimes I get so emotional when speaking. My throwback thing is to go to reggae music. And so we're going to spend some time this morning. Let me say we spend another 10 minutes. It's 5 minutes tonight, so we got a little time. You can still call, you can still WhatsApp, and let's talk. But I'm also going to use some reggae music to teach. Margaret Heritage say, tell me how come.
Assignment is to write a 400-word essay on issues facing our society. Dismissed.
How come the police only protecting politicians and white collar criminals?
If it wasn't for Rastafari, I and I would have no strength to survive. Let us take a look around. Fight Rasta, tell me how come? Don't I East West, them never chat in him, but them chat sizzler. Tell me how come? People have support the street, enough people love the Prime Minister. Tell me how come? Those in power don't seem to care. It's cause life is so unfair. In this sweet paradise, this is what we swear. Out of many, what people can you see that anywhere? Everyone treated equal, and this is why so many die, leaving so many to cry. Tell me how come there's so much guns in the streets and none of them gun they never make that. Tell me how come AIDS is spreading wild, taking over this sweet paradise of Jamaica. Tell me how come the dollar value's going down and everything's going up around town. Tell me how come Google had to get gone down? 'Cause life is so unfair. In this sweet paradise, this is what we swear. Out of many, what people can you see that anywhere? Everyone treated equal, and this is why so many die, leaving so many to cry. Tell me how come the youth them no people come to Jamaica and no know how we live things. Say everything nice, true, we full of vibes and things. Them same one feel it to them heart when them get few understand the real thing. Yeah, me day at town one day, I par with a white man we come all the way from Norway, and him turn to me and say, how comes Jamaica full of so much screw face? Same time I lift me head to the sky, and a teardrop fall from me high. Me say my youth come we go out for a drive. Let me show you why me cry. Look on the gully side. Do
you see anything to smile about? Look at that hungry child, yeah. Do you see anything to smile about? Look at the schools where the youth them go forget them education. Do you see anything to smile about? Look at the conditions of our police stations. Do you see anything to smile about? No. Same time the brother said, how can the nation be living this way? And the next thing him say, how can the government play so many games? Same time my heart fall to the ground, cause there's much more where that comes from. Certain place they are worse than slum. Youth man come and take a look on Riverton. Do you see anything to smile about? Look on Pienland, yeah. Do you see anything to smile about? Flankers, Mobe and Cyprus Heights in Spain. Do you see anything to smile about? What flats, Kent, Mudtown, they're all the same. Do you see anything to smile about? No, no. No, 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 no. Oh, no, no. Oh, no, no. No, when me say, no people come to Jamaica and not know how we live things. Say everything nice to it. Ooh. Oh, Lord.
I was buried alive, but I'm still breathing. I don't know what tomorrow may bring, but I got a feeling. I am alive. There must be a reason. I was given one more chance. My heart's still beating. Buried alive, but I'm still breathing. I don't know what tomorrow may bring, but I got a feeling. Oh, I am alive. There must be a reason. I was given one more chance. My heart's still beating. Now all this time I've been blind, only running against the wind. Friends of mine pass with time after living a life of sin. Some many give up, many give in. It's my determination to win. I survive the worst of times. I survive, yeah. I was buried alive, but I'm still breathing. I don't know what tomorrow may bring, but I got a feeling. Alright, now I am alive. There must be a reason. I was given one more chance. My heart's still beating. Oh, damn it.
The world is in a mess cause all them concerned about is them pay. So them lead you astray instead of leading you the right way. All me see is schedule a cuss spots and a cosplay. Nobody now, well no men's again, no prayer, no pray. Apparently I hear cause they on social media take over, so we just living for the cloud. Oh, you for voting worse than who you have voted out. Sad to say, but I don't trust the words that come from their mouth. They giving a lot of jokes, but me still can't laugh. Me woulda run well long time if Jamaica was on my heart. One of the things them want me can't understand is the WAF. Everything else gets stopped, but every gun come out. I notice every man a preach, but nobody not practice. No. Them used to be solid, but now them recycle like plastic. Oh yeah, regular, ma ask this. Why everybody toxic? This is a big show-key, cause all I see is actors and actresses. Yeah. What you used to identify a fool is the mind. Look like everyone enrolled in the school for the blind. This got to be revelation, just look at the time. Who has said Jamaica peaceful, just look at the crime. Instead of rising mentally, I down we a climb. Artists don't focus on message again, it's about the rhyme. But for them brand me now, wearing me not like the design. The definition of stupidity, that's how I define but them. But them a get about them a no good. A long time them blindfold. Just don't give them no control. Be careful of what you can do, yeah. For me notice, every man a preach, but nobody not practice. No, no, them used to be solid, but now them recycle like plastic. Oh yeah, regular, ma ask this. Why everybody toxic? This is a big show I keep, cause all I see is actors and actress. Yeah, you can fool some people sometime, but you can't fool everybody every time. You can brainwash you for brain dirty, but me know say you can't mess up every mind. None of them are no God, so I mean them can't God. Yes, I'm gonna give the people the words that I have. Some who me used to depend on for whole of the tribe. Yes, my sister them confused like stripe mixed with blood. I know this, every man a preach, but nobody not practice. No, no, them used to be solid, but now them recycle like plastic.
That one is called Toxicity. Toxicity. Toxicity by Bugle. It's an entire album actually. This is one of the selections on it. So go check it out. Let me play this voice note and then I remind you my last selection going out. There's something we always have to
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam, and all the viewers out there. What a lovely program yesterday, man. I enjoyed it. I hope you bring Mr. Clinton Conway back again for session, for our next session. And the thing is, the guy in the police force is, first of all, they're underpaid, right? Their salary is lousy, and it leaves them what you call more vulnerable, because they got rents to pay, they got bills to pay, they got kids and family and to take care of. So when you're not able to sustain your daily life routines and necessities, you have to look other places. And this helps to funnel corruption to a different level. And what I hope is that whenever that time comes again, where we're gonna have a new party, a new leaders, that they are going to hold people accountable for the things that they are doing now. I hope they will be held accountable later on. All of these things that is happening should not go unpaid. And we, for our folks, like to be nonchalant. We like to just push things under the rug. We like to forget about things. Those practices need to stop. We got to nip things in the butt. And I hope there is good in the police force, and I hope they can start by turning a new leaf and just start treating their own citizens better. Thank you.
Yes, you were tuned to the Buxtonian Morning Time. It is now 8 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour, and this is where I'll take my leave of you. But let me remind you this. Regardless of how high up you are, or how low down you are, or where in the middle you stand, At the end of the day, that is the great equalizer. We ain't kind it. I always refer to that. Squirrels not got pocket, calf not got shelf. Squirrels not got pocket, calf not got shelf. Always tell yourselves that all of the materialistic things that we are fighting up for, and we're using to discriminate and disrespect and oppress each other, we ain't taking it with us. Morgan Heritage says a man is still a man, regardless of what you wear. A man is still a man. Enjoy your weekend. See you tomorrow for another program of KAMS Saturday Rhythm tomorrow.
A man is still a man, whether him wear jacket and tie or him walk barefoot. The only difference is whether him good or evil. Oh, a man is still a man, whether him rich or poor, black or white for sure. The only difference is whether him good or evil. Listen, friend, we see lots of different people in the street, wiping car glass window. This is what they do day to day, just to get a little food to eat, oh yeah. And then you have others wearing suit and tie, work a good 9 to 5, and take it for granted that they're living a better life. I say the color of our skin don't mean a thing if we do good or commit to sin. We're all judged by the same. Jah is his holy name. So let's all be aware of how we entertain angels unaware, for angels do move through man, whether here or from there. A man is still a man, whether him wear jacket and tie or him walk barefoot. The only difference is whether him good or evil. A man is still a man, whether him rich or poor, black or white for sure. The only difference is whether I'm good or evil.
Never mind class, creed, or race. For the welfare of man. Be sure we're living life, we treat all men right. For we are all the same. In the most
A man is still a man, whether him wear jacket and tie or him walk barefoot. The only difference is whether I'm good or evil. Oh yeah. A man is still a man, whether him rich or poor, black or white for sure. The only difference is whether I'm good or evil. Hear these words again. Lots of different people live in the streets and wipe car glass window. This is what they do day to day, just to get a little food to eat. And then you have others wearing suit and tie, work a good 9 to 5, and take it for granted that they're living a better life. A man is still a man, whether him wear jacket and tie or him walk barefoot. The only difference is whether I'm good or evil. A man is still a man, whether him rich or poor, black or white for sure. The only difference is whether I'm good or evil. A man is still a man. 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 Only difference is whether I am good or evil. A man is still a man. Man is still a man. A man is still a man. Man is still a man. A man is still a man. Man is still a man. Only difference is whether I am good or evil. A man is still a man. Man is still a man.
my devotion, so that we can be together once more. You're my showers of blessing, and you're falling on me.